Well, now to an interview that I've been looking forward to the entire morning. Corruption Watch has recently released a report on local government corruption. It's titled, South Africa Needs Clean Hands. I'm sure we all agree. The city of Johannesburg is topping the list of municipalities with the most corruption allegations. Well, let's unpack all of this with Corruption Watch researcher Melusi Ncala joining us. Melusi, we normally speak over Zoom and Skype. It's good to have you in the studio with us today as well. There's a lot of numbers to go through on this. I don't want to give it all away, though. So this report, the one that stands out for me, between 2012 and 2020, nearly 33,000 whistleblower reports. It's a staggering number.
Good morning, Gareth, and thank you for having us here today. Indeed, it's a big number, and to consider that 16% of those are all about corruption at the local level of governance, that is also very shocking in itself, because these are issues that plague ordinary people. Ultimately, people like yourself, me and others watching currently, these are the people that need basic services. We need electricity, water and sanitation, and there are people who are homeless, who don't have any houses. And so, considering that local government is the face of government, essentially, this is where we directly interact with government, to have corruption plaguing it, it's a very big concern.
And ordinarily, if it wasn't for COVID, we would have seen all of us coming out and making our mark to change the potential local governments. In October, that might now be held over to February as well. But having said all of that, when voters are looking at the kinds of corruption, the kinds of whistleblowing that we're seeing, where do we kind of have a breakdown, Melusi, on what kind of corruption we're talking about?
Yeah, so the hotspots that we noted, especially in this particular report, it's the Office of the Municipal Manager, which accounts for 34%.
Wow.
Local police or metro police count for 30%, and the housing departments at the local level, of course, count for 10%. And then there are issues of bribery, procurement irregularities, employment irregularities, as well as embezzlement of funds. These count for about 28, 24%, 11% respectively.
I'm seeing also nepotism seems to be quite high up as well, but I'm seeing part of the report I was looking at earlier. It still comes down to, I know Corruption Watch is big on this, it's still about accountability in the end. All these whistleblowers are coming forward, all these reports you're getting, but there seems to be very little accountability, even though organizations such as yourself are trying to fight this.
Yeah, you see, the problem is that people come to Corruption Watch once they've exhausted all other avenues. They've tried to speak to officials within government, and in some instances they've been victimized for doing that, because some of these people, you might find that these are employees or just community members who've had terrible experiences and who have witnessed and have evidence of corruption. So they come to us asking what else can be done, and this is why we write these kind of reports, so that we can advocate for change.
And change needs to start at the top, doesn't it? We need to talk about leadership when it comes to a situation like this. I mean, in the end, the leaders want the titles, they want the fancy officers and vehicles, but they also need to start delivering. Are we seeing that happening?
We've got a leadership crisis. At least that's what I felt when writing this report. You know, to think that political leaders and administrators in municipal offices during the height of a pandemic, for example, last year in 2020, we received almost 900 reports of corruption, and not for a moment did they pause to think for a moment that, you know what, maybe it's time to change our attitudes and to serve the people. And so maybe that change can come within communities now that we are possibly heading towards an election, and people need to look within and see which people are ethical, which people have integrity, which people have a social conscience.
And I don't want to pick on the provinces here, but I think it's relevant if we can maybe just unpack the provinces here. Do we have a bit of a ranking, a bit of a pecking order? Who's worse than who?
I mean, we're kind of reluctant to view corruption to say who's worse than who, because first of all, in this particular report, we're looking at individual municipality areas, and it so happens that the metros are leading mainly because of population density. But with that said, Gauteng, we've received the most number of reports from there, 41%, followed by KwaZulu-Natal, 11%, and then Northwest and Limpopo all coming in at 8% apiece.
And just before I let you go, I'm busy reading the report now. It's going to make a lot of people angry, perhaps even change the perceptions for local government elections when those do eventually happen. How do we change this? I mean, this is a lot of information. It's a lot of data, fantastic research by you on this. But how do us as South Africans do anything about this? I think sometimes people feel a little bit helpless when you see this. They go, well, what do we do?
Well, first thing that you do, you take note of the fact that at least over 5,000 whistleblowers have taken their time because they're concerned and worried about the state of affairs and have decided to actually lodge a complaint about these issues. These people have told a story. We understand the story. You can read these stories. So half the task is simplified in that. And we also live these realities. Now it's all about what kind of people do we elect into positions of power, because we need accountable and responsible leaders.
Maybe not a bad idea if the elections are postponed. Perhaps it'll give some people some more time to think about possibly another alternative before they make their mark. Melusi, what a pleasure having you with us this morning here on eNCA. Corruption Watch researcher. It's a wonderful report. Go and look for it on Corruption Watch's website. Melusi Ncala joining us here on the South African Morning. Excuse me. And now,